Hi everyone, we're back with another video. Now we're called TheFanStand.
We recently changed our name, and that's primarily because
We received feedback from people that 12th was quite difficult.
and we didn't want our name to be that long, so we thought that a small, catchy name would do for our channel.
So in this video, we're going to first talk about Manchester United versus Bournemouth. So let's start with our resident Manchester United fan, Dayan.
Well, again, I felt that it was more of a game that exhibited United's season, inconsistency, and obviously it's more or less like we take one step forward and two steps backwards. With the game against Bournemouth, United played fairly well in the first half, conceding a goal. It was a defensive blip, I felt. And then, it was all downhill after that. Reason being that we weren't fast enough with the ball, without the ball.
But you can argue that the elements played their role as well. They were sitting back, yes, but the elements made it difficult for United as
Agreed, as in it was windy, it was raining, all of those elements, playing with the eventual performance of the team as well. But, when you're talking about a team like Manchester United, you have to maintain a standard for that team. And you can't exactly use such excuses for, your inconsistency. So I just feel that United as a whole played very well in the first half defensively, and excluding the blip that led to a goal. And obviously McTominay again was a general in the midfield, because of there being an absence of linking probably the strikers, which were Martial and Rashford for the day. From the midfield, you saw the strike force being alienated. Ole tried, changing players in the match as well. With
he changed wings.
He changed Pereira with Lingard, but it didn't really work out. He brought about Greenwood as well eventually, which was a bit too late. He changed Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who was probably one of the best players from the United side on the field. But yeah, as in, I guess I've given a very lengthy analysis, and you should probably also take the mic now.
Actually, as a Liverpool fan, I can say one thing: United is back in form. A lot of
But
they weren't
but
losing
that
for a
was in
long
a way
time.
game. You can't really say about
Still,
it.
they were losing their last away games. So,
agreed.
jokes apart, then one thing I'd like to ask, since you're a United fan, about the selection. Ashley Young starting for Manchester United.
Well, I guess we also had a discussion before the video about this, and my sentiments on this particular element is that I really don't understand why do managers want to play Ashley Young when they have other options on the bench.
Well, what I feel, because the United's right nowadays it's all about academy players and everything, so they want experience.
But
Because he's
No,
an
but my
experienced
point
player.
is, no, it's not about experience. Ashley Young he began his career as a forced right wing player,
Yeah.
who
Played on the
eventually
wings.
is who turned 35. He's a 35-year-old player who's been shifted towards becoming a right back. When
Yeah.
you have the likes of probably Brandon Williams, who's a lot more pacier, has a better physical presence, and has proven himself in the past game as well to be a better addition to the team as well.
He has, sorry to interrupt, he proved himself in the Carabao Cup match against Chelsea. I was
Yeah.
expecting Pulisic and who's the other winger? Sorry, Pulisic and who's playing?
Willian?
Willian, yes,
Willian.
Pulisic and Willian to rip Brandon Williams apart.
Yeah,
But he put out a very good performance. And I see, I'll back down on this one. I think Brandon Williams, he's young, he wants to prove himself. And you should start with a player like him, because he has that hunger for success at the moment. Not taking away anything from Ashley Young, he's been there at United, but his time is coming to an end. And Bournemouth, with the likes of Joshua King, so they have pace up front. It is not easy for Ashley Young to cope with pace, week in, week out.
Plus, as in when you talk about Ashley Young, a player like Ashley Young, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you disagree with me. Ashley Young is a pretty old player, as I
Yeah.
said before. He's 35, and obviously, when you're a defender and especially a right back,
You lose a lot of speed.
You're up against pacey wingers, right? One of the biggest concerns for a right back is to not lose their position.
To be able to track back
And
in time.
when that there's always this dilemma that I feel that Ashley Young goes through, and that's primarily about probably moving forward into attack or tracking back into his position. Now, if you observe any of United's matches, whenever the ball comes to probably Ashley Young, and whenever, even if United as a team is standing on an offensive angle, Ashley Young has a habit of being very conservative with his passes. Rather than developing the game up front, he would rather pass the ball to a defender, and
But
play it
that-
safe.
but
That will
that's-
happen. Sorry, he's not a natural right back. This
Agreed.
will happen.
Agreed.
Or even left back, right back. He's not natural at it. Now, see, the thing is, even if we can't only criticize Ashley, and even the midfield, like you mentioned, there's no link up between the mid and the attack.
Again, yes,
And also, doesn't this come from the management, that whether you want to play fast or you want to do?
see, if you look at United's overall game, they definitely want to play fast. They definitely want to be an attacking team. That's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has exhibited in most of his matches, and that's primarily the reason why he acquired a player like Dan James. He brought about Rashford and Martial at the same time. He fields them at the same time whenever he has an option. But at the same time, it's more about your point. It only adds up to the other point. And secondly, when you're talking about Pereira as well, I feel that since United already needs a cleanup in its dressing room, I feel that the game time Pereira has been getting recently, is a very good point to actually expose the true potential in the player as well. If he is a first team player, or if he's just another squad player as well, which is fine, as in a player can be a squad player as well.
Yeah,
It's the same as your example about Adam Lallana.
Adam Lallana, definitely. And this run of giving chance to players, it has helped a player like Scott McTominay.
100%.
Because he was in.
100%.
I liked him. The first time I saw him was against
Since
Chelsea.
last year, he's performed a few.
Yeah, he's getting regular chances, because whenever I saw United play, now he was playing one match in a week, and he was not played for another couple of matches, and then
Agreed.
now he's getting regular runs, and he's playing very well.
Agreed.
That's true. So, what looking ahead, do you think the upcoming matches in the Europa League for Manchester United? It's Partizan. This time it's away. So this time it's home. Because last time it was away. So the games back to back for Manchester United. They played in the Carabao Cup last week as well. This week they're playing midweek again, and coming up to December as well. So is there bench strength in the United?
Obviously, United at the moment lacks depth. Obviously, any player getting injured would actually be a massive blow to Ole. But at the same time, Partizan being it's one can say that it's not exactly a very big team to
But it's
to
a
go
trophy
against.
after all.
No, but more than a trophy, I feel that since United currently doesn't stand at a very decent standing on the leaderboard, on the Premier League leaderboard,
That's true.
the best option for United to possibly qualify for Champions League next year would be to win the Europa League.
Yeah.
So I feel that United is going to go into this match with a lot of seriousness, and they would definitely be looking to take out at least a win from this particular match.
They should. They won against Partizan away.
Yeah.
The problem for
1-0.
United has been they've only scored, I think, 6 or 8 times in September. Now that is a concern.
Going forward,
Ashley
exactly.
Young scored a very beautiful free kick against Chelsea. The only chance I can see United scoring are maybe from set pieces.
Rashford.
Oh, sorry, Rashford. I'm sorry, Rashford scored a very beautiful free kick.
Ronaldo
Free kick,
style.
Yeah, Ronaldo style.
It actually made me, pardon me for interrupting you, but it made me, pardon my French,
Appreciate.
but shut up about,
Appreciate
the rant that I
Rashford.
was going through for
but
Rashford.
then again, he didn't perform on the weekend. Now, as you mentioned, that he's not the main target man. He's more of, he can play maybe either on the right, I feel, or a second striker in a supporting role.
Agreed,
with
agreed. He can
a
play
front striker.
off a particular striker, but the point that I was trying to make earlier as well was the fact that there was there was a link missing between the midfield and the attack. If you look at both of them, if you look at Martial or even Rashford for that matter, they were mostly alienated throughout the game. Majority of the attacks were coming from the right, which was primarily Dan James, putting in crosses and putting in run.
So who would you play
been
in?
that
So who
way.
would you change in the upcoming match then, against Brighton or against Partizan?
I feel that United going up against Partizan, United would obviously go with an attacking mindset. Would obviously look to scoring goals because again it's a home fixture.
And against Brighton?
With Brighton, obviously, United again, since they're in the Premier League and they need to save face again
At home.
Obviously, at home that's an advantage. But again, things get a bit tricky with the current form that United is in and the current quality that the squad particularly has, and obviously missing a big player like Paul Pogba. I'd say that obviously if I was the manager, I would actually take out Ashley Young for at least the Partizan game, and obviously even if I had an option for the Brighton game, and put in Brandon Williams in there, and go with a very attacking mindset in general. Something with Brighton, I see that United could possibly again go for the 5-3-2 that they go for. It's a bit more attacking, and Brighton has a bit of pace in its team as well. So it could prove very promising in terms of defending against them as well. Plus, Brighton's coming to Old Trafford. Going to Old Trafford or Anfield or Goodison Park or the Emirates Stadium or even Stamford Bridge for that matter is never easy.
Never easy, and Solskjaer should play more attacking.
100%.
See, I can understand that there are issues in the squad in terms of depth. Now you can't always go with high intensity because you have a lot of matches. You're even playing on midweek, and then you have crucial fixtures on the weekend.
Yeah.
So he should still go for attack because even if when they're playing on the counter or defensive, that is not working for them right now. Maybe, and United's played well whenever they've been on the attack.
100%.
That is why they've won both games against Chelsea. Now the first game against Chelsea at Old Trafford, the opening game, that is a distant memory, but they were playing with the intent to attack and score.
Agreed.
And even in the Carabao, yes, it wasn't the most entertaining match, but whenever United looked to come on the attack, that is where they looked threatening. And because that free kick now, very far out, Rashford had an attacking mind. I should go for this one rather than just putting it in the box.
If you look at the fan videos, people are chanting that don't shoot, and he scores.
But if you look at the Carabao Cup. And in the Carabao Cup, Rashford actually picked up an injury, but yet he appeared in the game, against Bournemouth. But honestly speaking, you're correct, and I'd agree with you that United needs to be a bit more. United needs a bit more movement up front. The defense in particular and the midfield in particular, and when I say the midfield, I mean Fred and the pair of Fred and McTominay. I feel they've really impressed me in the past couple of days because obviously they've been pretty sound, they've been pretty rigid, they've been harder to break in terms of the opposition side attacking United. But if you look at the stats as well, although stats are always tricky because the stats may tell a different story and the actual game may tell the different story, but there's a stark difference between the number of passes that United completed as opposed to the number of passes Liverpool completed in its game, City completed in its game, and Chelsea completed in its game. That shows that there's a lack of quality in that midfield that is not being able to enable the strike force as well. And hence the point that United strike force is currently being alienated as well.
Okay, I guess. Do you have something more on this, Moses?
Well, nothing more to add at the moment. So only time will tell how they perform.
100%.
I can not only blame. It's easy. Everyone's pointing fingers at the manager of Manchester United, but previously we've seen other managers come in and not being able to prove themselves, and they were big names. So there's a lot
Let's
of
give him- let's give him
changes
time and
required. He needs some time, and he needs the board's backing, because Ed Woodward, he's not brought in any replacements. He's not been very supportive
Especially
of the
going
manager.
forward.
So let's see. If as a neutral, I can say they need to invest in January, because it's a long season ahead, and if there is an injury or any suspension to any of the starting 11 from Manchester United,
That'd be a big
will-
blow.
That
a
would be
big blow, and they will struggle, because they're
Agreed.
already
Agreed.
they're struggling a bit. They're not consistent even with the first team, regular starting which they have for this season. So they need some backups.
But just ending this, I feel that I would personally, my personal opinion would be to give Ole the upcoming summer transfer window as well. He needs at least a season before we can sit back and judge him, or judge the fact that if he needs to be sacked, or if he needs to stay. So I feel it's still too early for us to be making such a decision over if Ole requires the sack or not.
Let's see. He's come up with surprises.
100%.
Even I thought maybe the game against Liverpool might be his last, but he came up. He came up with a tactical masterpiece. to be honest.
100%,
And
100%.
that is a very high praise I'm
From a
holding
Liverpool
out
fan.
from him. No,
Agreed.
seriously, it was. You expected, I'm sure, as much as Liverpool fans may deny, even I was expecting maybe.
A
It was
breakthrough.
Old Trafford, but we thought maybe we can come out with a comfortable win, and
Agreed.
United gave us a run for the entire 90 minutes. To be honest.
100%.
Yeah, except for that.
I love that
Lallana
game
goal.
personally.
Yeah, I mean, still, we had to play for something. I mean, till the 80th minute, we were nowhere, and once we got that goal,
Then-
yes, if we had more time, maybe it would have been different. But still, we did not. No one expected United to play that well against the number one team in the league at the moment.
All right, so I guess this is about it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to the video, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also leave comments.
Leave comments. Your feedbacks are more than welcome. Dan
100%.
is the Manchester United expert in this panel. So any questions for him? You might disagree with something.
Yeah.
Do throw that in, so
Go
we can
for it.
have
Go for it. Go for
a
it.
debate maybe in the next video.
100%.
Love that.
100%.
Thank you. Thank you
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.